By way of introduction, I just want to do a little bit of background first. So really my thing is all about that, inspiring humanity by bringing beauty and meaning into this world through the art that I do. And I really mean it, and I do it with all my heart every day. I have a studio in Napa. It's about, not that the size matters, but it's about 15,000 square feet, and everything that I design, or most things that I design, get fabricated, managed, and installed from the talent out of that roof. So it's pretty much turnkey, so it's all very organized. Can you even read that from there? Probably not, huh? That's okay. So, so I've been doing this for a really long time, like over 30 years. I've probably won maybe 75 public art awards, which means I've probably developed and lost another 300. So, you know, that's just the game. And so I consider myself a seasoned professional, and I really do specialize in site-specific, large-scale, site-specific permanent art installations all over the United States and different parts of the world. I have a team, so I can't do what I do without a team. So the team's super important. So we have skilled artisans and fabricators, 2 full-time digital designers, because everything has to be digital now. And so I'll make a rough model, then we'll make a nice physical model, but also the 3D modeling and all of that. So we have 2 full-time, we call them pixel monkeys. We have a full-time project management team. That's Jason that runs that part of it, and he's just super good. So what you can expect from us, if you like the art that I'm presenting, that it will be tightly managed, and there's just no way that it won't get here when we said it would, and there's no way that it will cost a penny more than we said it would, etc. And of course project development, public art administration, and that sort of thing. And then the studio, when I started 30-something years ago, I started in stained glass, so my background was in glass. And then years later I decided that I didn't want to limit myself to one medium, but our core skill is still glass. Well, we also have a metal studio, wood studio, gallery space, and of course the admin functions. I forgot to ask, how much time do I have?
To complete the project?
No, to complete my dancing on the table. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
I see an inside joke because I've been messing up that question all day. Oh, you have 45 minutes.
Okay, so I think I'm doing fine in terms of my rhythm there. Don't want to go too slow, don't want to go too fast. What? Oh, that I will speak really slow. I won't need all that time, but I'm happy to stay here as long as you want me. Okay, oh, nice, as long as I get my flight home. So I have a certain philosophy that's behind everything that I do, and it always starts with telling a story. And these stories are never about me, they're about the community, the people that are living with it every day. So I'm just trying to figure out how to tell other people's stories. Part of that is creating a sense of place. Everything that I do is site specific. I'm a little bit old-fashioned when it comes to art. I think it should be beautiful and inspiring. I don't know what they teach in art school, but I don't think it's that. Actually, I never went, so I don't know. Craftsmanship is super important. The one model that has Scotch tape on it, notwithstanding, it didn't quite make it, but craftsmanship, right? Okay, and then of course you want to be meaningful and relevant to the people that are enjoying it every day. So there's a certain approach that's behind that. So first you start exploring what is that community about. I came out here, I think in early August. I met with Andre and visited both sites and kind of drilled down. I have done one project in Peoria before, so I hope you don't hold that against me, but I feel like I'm very familiar with this area of the community. You do some research. There's an internal collaboration that happens inside my studio, and depending on how things are structured, there's collaboration also with the client. So, for example, do we want these spaced further apart? Maybe we make that one bigger and we don't want that small one, or there's room for us to collaborate, or you could just let me go and do it. Conceptual development, refinement, and then we got to get into the actual making of things and the installation. So I just want to hit on just a few past projects. This is called the aluminum yucca. This was for the city of Albuquerque. As it turns out, the yucca is the state flower. They have a very large percentage of their population is related to the Air Force in one way or another. So this is made of recycled fuel tanks from military aircraft. It's
solar powered?
Is it solar powered?
It's solar powered LED.
Yeah, you'll see there, right.
Awesome.
So we have solar panels out there. There's a lockbox with a computer in it, so that it can be programmed. The thing is that it's right on the I-40. I think it's I-40 or 4140. That's sort of roughly where Route 66 was. So we were kind of thinking of that Route 66 culture where you can have a hamburger and a giant cowboy hat and all that kind of crazy supersizing things. But it's the first thing you see as you approach the city. So it's welcoming you to Albuquerque. It's very much an iconic identity piece for them. And as you drive by it, I think it's about 20 seconds that you see it. In that 20 seconds, it gently goes from one color to another, and then again to another. And so that can be programmed to change colors and all of that sort of thing. This is in Dadeland. On the left is the model, on the right is the installations. It's in a fountain, it's in a kind of a roundabout, in a mixed-use project. All aluminum and dichroic glass, and that's what I'm proposing for you. Not that sculpture, obviously, but those materials. Because nothing ever fades, nothing ever gets tarnished, nothing needs really to be ever cleaned. And then you just see some different views of it. It was important to get some height out of there because of the adjacent buildings, all that. Just as, I keep forgetting which one is which, but one of them where the retail is, I think that's yours. We need some real height there because it's kind of far away from the street and the relativity to the architecture and all of that, but I'll get to that in a minute. This was in the Black Forest of Germany. It is a global company. This is all stainless steel and dichroic glass, and really creating I'm going to call it a visual dialogue with the architecture. So very rectilinear with the sphere as a nice contrast to that. All dichroic glass. That's what the majority of what I'm proposing for you. It's lit up really beautifully at night for nighttime viewing. This is called the Glass Forest. It's basically compound curved glass, stainless steel poles, no holes drilled, but it's engineered to withstand 250 mile per hour winds. And you can walk through it. There's a whole nature trail and different little surprises along the way, and this is one of the surprises. So you see this, these are all very different, so you'd almost think maybe it was different artists, but that's because, remember I talked about telling other people's stories? So every project I approach, well, differently because it's a different audience, so to speak. So this is St. Petersburg, right on the ocean, luxury condos. That's the very rough model that I made. And then this is the finished installation. It's also dichroic glass and stainless steel. This is a little bit tongue-in-cheek, so this was a very controversial project in my own town. I don't know, probably, I mentioned to Christine, I actually serve on the City of Napa Planning Commission. It's a pretty high-profile thing, and I've been up there for a long time. And so anytime I do anything in my own town, it's like, oh, what's he doing now? And oh my God, and you know. So this is called the Hand of the Land. And the reason that the Napa Valley is so well known, it's not just the natural beauty, but it's because of the wine. How is the wine possible? It's because of the vineyards, the grapes, and that's possible because of the men and women that work that soil. And so the fruit of all their labors, that is that grape, and that's illuminated at night. It's a pretty exciting piece. We're supposed to go in front of a hotel in downtown Napa, but they got so scared of the controversy that we're doing something different for them now. But we have this big musical festival, so I made it anyways, and it was all over Facebook, super, super exciting. And so then the hotel people called, and do you think that maybe we could have that hand after all? After, you know? So it's like, oh, gotcha. So some of these things are tongue-in-cheek. So have you ever heard of the Culinary Institute of America? Yes. Right. So we have, they've come to Napa, to the Copia building. So the building originally It was Julia Child's Kitchen was the restaurant, and it wasn't very successful because people could never find it. And it's way back from the road. So this is also serving now as a wayfinding tool. So it's 10,000 forks, real forks on an 18-foot fork. And it's just one of those things that everybody stops to take pictures and all of that. This is just this piece called Up We Go. It's also aluminum and dichroic glass. It's in the town of Yountville on loan. I just did it because I wanted to, and it was fun. So here we are. So any questions so far? We want to get into it?
Where is the piece that you did here?
At your, do you call it a civic center or?
Centennial Plaza. I was just looking at this, which is
That's a cousin, and that's because what yours has is very beautiful tapered ends and no dichroic glass. So, so like I shared with you, I came out here with Darcy, my partner, and met with Andre, who we worked with before on the Civic Center project. And he was kind enough to give us about an hour and a half, and so we went first to the retail property, and then we went to the other property and drove back and forth and took a bunch of pictures and made Andre and Darcy stand out there and wave their arms so we could understand the scale and that sort of thing. So I think it's always important to, well, I'm going to get to the goals in a minute, but so both areas, I'm going after it as a triptych. Okay, so that it's just, rather than having a singular piece, I thought it'd be more interesting to break it down a little bit. So there's this theory with threes is perfect, and it's always complete when you go with three, not with four, not with two. So we have inspired cactus species native to Peoria in the Sonoran Desert is the big idea here. Two installations are clearly related, but sufficiently distinct to provide unique visual experience to the viewer. So one of the things I was struck by is that the two properties are, I had forgotten how spread out this place is. And it was a long drive, really, from one site to the other. And I thought, wow, this could be a perfect opportunity to kind of knit our community a little more closely together by having these cousins. Or if we were to do both, I don't want to get ahead of myself and be too presumptuous, but you know, what if we mixed them up a little bit? Okay, so I'll get to that later. That only really works if we do both, because it's a whole two set of different structural drawings and coordination and all that, so they would have to be kind of done as a suite. So each installation integrates materials differently, interprets natural forms, I'd like to think in a unique way, and has a distinctive presence throughout its site. I don't know if we'll have time or if you have interest, but if we were to go outside with this and you put this in the sun, it just blows up. It just reflects colors, long stretches of color. It changes color depending on your direction of viewing and all of that. It's very, very dynamic. So this is the first one. This is inspired by the barrel cactus. Let me see what I have here, hold on. The goals. So these are your goals. So I kind of like to always do that so that we remember what we told the artists that the goals were, so that we kind of stay on it. Site-specific work that complements the environment of the location. We want it to be signature pieces. Acknowledge and respond to the high traffic intersection, so people are moving all the time, right? And it's kind of at a distance. So using these kind of materials, it's so dynamic with natural light. It's just crazy that you'll be able to see it. You can see it from, I don't even know how far away. If I held up that little model and I went all the way out to the end of the parking lot and I held it up, you could see it from here. And it's just this big. Okay, so it's got that going on. Reflect the unique qualities, culture, landscape, and experience of Peoria. I think we're doing that. Create light-filled, colorful, engaging artwork. So the way to get color, you could use powder coating, like you could do paints. They'll fade. They're just going to fade. That's what happens. It's pigment. And we got such strong desert sun here, the UV light will tear it up. Within 4 years it's fading, or sooner. So then I'm thinking, okay, we're not going to use powder-coated metals. What other materials? Well, glass. Not exciting enough unless I go to dichroic glass because it's so reflective. So 50 years from now, it'll look exactly the same. It doesn't change. Barrel cactus. Well, it's obviously an iconic emblem of the Southwest, right? You don't have to just drive around to see it. I've got one that's 4 feet, 10 feet, and 6 feet. We rendered them, I think you'll see in a minute, a little bit too far apart. I still want to kind of tweak how close they are and where they are. Talk to Andre about maybe when we're pouring pads, we can berm up the land a little bit. There's tons of construction going on anyways. We take some of those spoils and get more height out of it. So each dichroic glass fin is curved, and the negative space becomes as interesting as the positive space as the dichroic. See how it's changing color? And we're indoors, we're not even outside in the sun. It's just really, I'm gonna make you go outside actually when I'm towards the end, okay? Because I just want you to experience that. So each one has 6 of these fins radiating from the center core. And the structural members actually add another kind of design element that I think is really handsome. Beautiful architecture, beautiful, it's perfection, it's nature. That's where's a better place to get inspiration than from nature? So that's Darcy and Andre. Okay, so I made them do that out in the hot sun. That was when it was over 100. So I did that from the shade. So this is kind of what it starts to feel like. I think I want to push them a little closer together, maybe even a little bit how I have them on the table right here. But you can get the idea. And this is not showing up very well, but if maybe in there it'll look a little bit better. And if you can just look at those models and see how dynamic they are. They don't need to be any bigger than that to show themselves. This is basically a true story. That's out of your car. You see the rearview mirror, so that's what you'll see. And you know, once the installation's done, well, before, if we can berm it up, that would be great. Maybe we can talk someone into actually doing a little bit of landscaping around that. Anything you can do like that will totally enhance it. A big boulder, it really starts on, that's not part of my budget, but I'd be happy to help with that and participate in that. So Andre shared with us that we got to be a little bit careful about lighting. We can't make them too bright. Do you have like a black sky or dark sky ordinance? They have that in Albuquerque too. So I think low level lighting is all that we'll need because that dichroic glass is so dynamic. And even when a car goes by, it's going to bling off of it. The street lights is going to light it up. So, but we are including lighting in our proposal, which I can show you in the breakdown in a moment. This is the same view as before from the car, but at night. So fabrication, installation, budget, timeline, materials, maintenance. You want to know all about that. So let me go through it. That's a lot of words. So this is basically a detailed description of how it's made. And it's in there. And if you don't mind, I don't feel like, it's not that I don't feel like it, that doesn't sound right. I don't know that I need to read it all, but it's all basically figured out, as you can see here. So we've already done our shop drawings, so it's just one step away from going to the structural engineer, but we have a high degree of confidence that the way that we've designed it, the worst that could happen is the structural architect or structural engineer might ask for a bigger pipe or a different bolt or something like that, but we've gone deep enough that we're very confident that it can be made. This is, again, in there. It has all the little details. What's dichroic, what's aluminum, where are the bolts, where's the channeling, all that's figured out. And what is this? This is all to do with the installation, and it's a very detailed installation plan. It wouldn't be very different than the last time we worked together. You're going to be participating in the concrete. We are going to design it. We're going to have the engineer drawings done. Then you all are going to do the minimum amount of pad that needs to be done. You need to bring electricity to it. It's not very far away because we saw it out there. So you're going to trench it, bring a conduit, bring me a box, and then we supply the lamps and install the lamps. Okay? This tells you the equipment that my team has already figured out: a portable generator, forklift. I mean, I don't know. It shouldn't really matter to you, but I mean, we're providing all of that, but we know how to install it and we know what we need to install it. Both sites are really, really accessible. On your property, there's a side on the, I can't remember which side, but there's a nice wide area that we can get our equipment in there, so it's no big deal. And then when we leave, everything's shiny and happy and there's no tools and there's no mess. And that's the budget breakdown. I don't know, I don't need to, you see it there and you have it there, that's how it breaks down. We're talking 14 to 21 weeks, could speed it up if you wanted to. My experience is, no offense, but working with municipalities, they're the ones that are usually slower than the private sector, so we'll be ready and then we'll be waiting and then waiting some more and then calling you and bugging you over in procurement and where's that and where's this and that sort of thing. So dichroic glass, dichroic glass is probably the most expensive glass on the planet, first of all. It was originally designed for NASA, for filtering light. It's what's called a thin layer coating. So you take a piece of glass and you put it in a chamber, and it's on a rotor. There's these little clips, and then there's metal down at the bottom of the chamber. They close it. They shoot it with lasers, and the glass is spinning, and all those metal oxides are flying around in there, and they adhere themselves to the glass. It takes 2 to 4 hours depending on which color that you're making. So blue, gold, magenta, green, yellow, cyan. Those are the colors that they have. There's really no maintenance. I mean, once it does rain here once in a great while, that's when you'll dust it off. The rain will take the dust off, that's all. You don't ever have to do anything. If you want to, that would be great. You might want to do it for that property because it's more retail and stuff, more urban. So you might want to get out there and wipe it down once in a while, but you don't have to. That was that one. Do you want me to go to the next one, or do you want to talk about this one? Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell me the heights of the 3 pieces?
I think I said 4, 6, and 10. Let me see.
Sorry.
Don't apologize, not at all. I should know it off the top of my head, right? 10 feet, 6 feet, 4 feet.
Are you saying that those beds made out of glass?
Yes, ma'am. Safety laminated glass, so like bulletproof kind of glass. So I have a piece of dichroic glass, and then I have 2 pieces of plate glass that are safety laminated in an autoclave. So you would have to hit it really hard many times with a hammer to get a crack in it, and then if you had a crack in it, it's just a crack. It can't go anywhere, so it doesn't fall off in shards or anything like that, so it's still structurally sound and stable, and can be relatively easily replaced. No, really different than seeing seeing a car going by and hitting the chrome a little bit, or bouncing off a rear view mirror. So it's I'm not the only artist out there that uses dichroic, and so it's out there all the time. So I get asked that all the time, and so I've had to think of a good answer, and that was my answer. Okay.
Did you say you didn't go to school or you didn't go to art school?
Gee, I confess, why did I do that? I have a very complicated history growing up, and so I didn't finish high school, honestly.
I didn't mean to embarrass you. I was
No, that's all right. Well, I'm kind of proud of it, actually, since I've come so far from being so low down there. You gonna ask something?
Yes, thank you, Jordan. So I'm not as familiar with this media. So is it when it's created? Is it that like normal light that penetrates it? I mean, obviously there's a reflective quality of it. but does
Look
light
what it's
go
already
through
doing.
it?
Look what's already happening.
It's prismatic.
Why don't we just, come on, you guys, just for a second. Come on, come on, you need to stretch anyways. Crazy days are here again, right? So, you know, depending on where you are, well, now I'm not in the sun, driving by it, it just changes color. That's what's going to happen.
So, like a headlamps would really penetrate, would go through.
Yeah, just like sunlight does, of course. And so a headlight going by will do something like that. It'll push light through it, and it'll reflect light off of it. So this, let's see, which fin is doing what now? So it's reflecting gold and transmitting magentas and blues. So it's pretty darn fabulous, actually.
So from a recommendation standpoint for the base that it's going on to, what do you recommend then? Because you're going to get, if it's gravel or, you know, DG kind of stuff, or versus the concrete, or versus a different surface.
Well, yeah, I would just do DG or gravel or something light colored. I mean, it can be dark colored. It's still super strong. But obviously if it's a lighter canvas, it's going to be brighter.
Can we move it onto the DG?
Yeah, sure. Let me go grab the other one. So anybody can grab that. It's okay. And that's a darker DG out there, but you still see the light on it.
Yeah, if you practice it, you can actually see the stones.
And that happens to be a different color.
That's very cool.
Well, red, gold,
Yeah.
right? So you see all those colors in there?
Wow.
And then with the perforated, I know we haven't gotten to this one, but I don't want to make you come back out in the sun, but the perforated metal then introduces yet another pattern and gives it another texture. It's kind of reminiscent maybe of all those little knobs on some of those cactuses, right? Little stickers that I used to not know they were stickers and went and slapped it when I was a little kid. Took about a week to get them all out of my hand.
Well, you learned your lesson that way.
Yeah, right, the hard way.
That material gets super hot in the sunlight. Does it really heat
It's like
up?
regular glass.
Like regular glass,
Yeah, it
okay.
doesn't. It's no different. But you know, even if it got hot, well, you know, it's not going to get any hotter than a hood of a car.
Okay.
And you know, I don't think anybody's really going to be spending any time out there.
Waiting on it.
And even if they were, I mean, it's designed to. You could beat it up. It's super strong. Rather that you didn't, but sometimes the municipalities ask us for all the shop drawings, which we're happy to provide. So. In the event of my demise, which will happen sooner or later, that you'll have all the specs, and so you can go and procure that on your own. Typically, if something happens, which is rare, they come back to the source, but I might not be here eternally, although I am at church. You never know.
I love the different ones together like that, the different shapes like that.
Yeah, right. So I thought we could play with that. And so basically the next presentation is the same as the first one, except showing images of that in that environment. So it's all the same. So we could, you know, this is the largest of the two, so I don't know that I would do that, but I would take maybe this large one, the smallest Sakura, and then the medium size of that one, and make that a triptych. And then the other ones, obviously, is the other triptych. You're still tying the community together, knitting it together if you keep them separate, but I think it's even stronger then if you did that, if that was important to you. It seemed important to me that you would want to do that, given that we're so spread out here.
Yeah, right.
Lighting at night is in the ground coming up on it. How is that?
I don't know that we drew that, but it's indicated in those, in the shop drawings that my team did, but you know, there'd be like probably 3 uplights. These probably also will have 3. All right, so now we're on to the other site. I won't take as long because some of it's kind of redundant. So this site's similar, but at the same time very different because it's much more urban. It's a way busier intersection. I've got architecture on all four corners, so there's a lot going on. I already said all that, okay? Because they're the same goals and the same all of that, except now we're on to the Seguro. So I'm at 18 feet as the tallest, 12, and then 8. Feel free to move Mr. Scaleman around. That might help you with the size. Like the barrel cactus, first of all, that plant is so iconic for this area, so that makes sense. And each one's different. So each one of these are a different shape. So I drew these first and did it in foam core and whatnot so that the team could make it in a nicer material. So they all have their own character. And again, that beautiful architecture and design from Mother Nature. So can you see Darcy and Andre there? All right, so one of those things I'd like to collaborate on is how far towards the building do we want to be? How far out there do we want to be? Andre said, since he's not here, that we could move plants around. And I think that that's a really good idea, and I would be happy, I would appreciate it if you'd let me participate in that. I'm not a landscape architect, but I've been around it for my whole career, and I like to think I'm pretty good at it. Because what we can do is if we're pushing dirt around and plants around, again, we can mound it a little bit, get a little bit more height, and then we can put complementary plants, boulders, gravel around it to create more context for it. So my pixel monkeys just kind of recreated your architecture really simple, but that's the right scale, so we can kind of see what kind of height that we're getting. You know, the lights from the building at night too, and those street lamps, every little piece of light is going to play off of those surfaces. That stuff's so light sensitive. Car lit up at night. We're going to go through this again. Okay, it's in that spiral bound, but this is the breakdown on how it's made. Briefly, there's a plate at the bottom. It has a certain diameter pipe that runs up the middle. There are channels that it bolts into. It's actually pretty straightforward. All of these forms, even these are water jet cut, so it's highly accurate. This is also, again, in your spiral bound there, you can see what is what. It's too hard to read from afar anyways. But again, this is like one step away from the structural engineer putting a stamp on it and we're ready to go. Site prep will be able to run concurrently with fabrication to prevent installation delays. That's assuming my partners on the other side are responsive and we're getting it done. So we're making it while the site's being prepared. So when we're ready, the pad's there, and then we know what, after the installation, then we know what plants are going where, or sometimes I'd prefer to do it a little bit more organically. I can go out there with your landscape people and put that there, no, put it there, that sort of thing. You're going to run electrical for me, but we're going to provide the lamps. Before shipping the sculptures, Jason probably, our project manager, will come to the site and make sure that everything is as it's supposed to be so that there's no hiccups when we get here. In an ideal world, if we were doing both of them, we'd be doing the installation. I'd just send them out here for a week and they would just stay here until both areas are done. There's some equipment there that you might want to know about. I mean, I have to pay for it, but there's a 40-foot boom lift that we'll be using. I'm very confident we can easily get to the site based on how the building is designed. Let's see. This is more on the installation. So basically, they've thought every little step through. I don't want to bore you with the details unless you want me to tell you. I'm happy to share with you, but it's there in writing. That's your budget. That's how it breaks down.
Gordon, would both of these happen concurrently? I know each has their own schedule, but is that kind of, would that be your approach?
Yeah, totally. There's some efficiencies in that. And there's basically 6 different sculptures. 3 and 3 are of a similar methodology and all of that, but since they're different sizes, it's just different. But it only makes sense since they all have the same materials, minus the perforated aluminum that these don't have. But we would very much like to do them all at the same time.
What about height, Gordon? Are you able to make these higher than that one higher than 18 feet?
Well, how much higher? Probably. It becomes more realistic, feasible for me if we're doing both, quite frankly, right? So I'm buying more material, maybe I can get a better price. I have to beat up Jason because, it's my company, but, they're very strict about all that stuff and say, look, man, they want it taller, so we're going to have to eat it a little bit and make it taller. So if you think it's important, then we'll figure it out together, okay? All right. Perforated aluminum. So this is not off-the-shelf perforated. This is, we're putting that through our water jet cutter for our own pattern. So that's, I don't know how meaningful that is to you, but it's meaningful to me, so it's not off the shelf. Same as before, and ta-da. Whew, you guys warm me out. Okay.
So the one up here on 83rd and Happy Valley, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right now, it's very open like that. That, as I understand, is going to change significantly. If there was a wall behind that within X amount of feet, how do you think that's going to impact it?
A wall behind it? Well, it might be better.
The beauty of that is really the openness and the way that looks. And I think when you close that in, I start to wonder.
Well, nobody told me about a wall, although I heard that's a very popular topic these days, building walls. I would like to participate. Well, I know that there's development right next door to it. I was hoping that we'd clean that site up a little bit, and maybe those real estate signs don't have to be there. And the sites need some attention and some love besides just placing sculptures there. If you had a low wall behind it, I don't know that that's a bad thing at all. Actually, it takes some of the visual noise and kind of gives you a more background kind of thing, so that could be to our advantage. But maybe who's ever designing that wall, we can engage them to, if they're building a wall here, why can't they put it there? And if they're doing it like this, why can't they do it like that? And do it so that there's a visual dialogue between the wall and the sculptures.
Are these bases under the surface, or are these bases exposed?
I prefer them to be, I'd like to backfill them so they look like they're growing out of the ground, as kind of done there.
So it'd be the gravel or whatever.
Right, so we'll have our pad at grade, whatever grade is, flush, and then we come and bolt everything together, and then basically you're shoveling gravel or dirt or whatever over that. That guy right there said that he thought I was going to win. I thought that, because when I was unpacking. He was so cute. Dude, those are awesome. You gonna win that one.
So the lights are not on the base then, they're actually in the floor of the barrel, can they be, they are lit?
You know, they are lit, but I don't know if we're gonna surface mount them.
Okay.
Or if they're going to be, that's one of those things I want to kind of coordinate with you, is it would be awesome is when we're doing the pour to run those conduits, so that it can be wired, so that it could be a little bit more of a flush mounted situation.
So they're not actually in the structure, it'd be better if they were down, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would it be possible to move the 3 barrels, like in this picture here, closer together?
I want them closer together. So let me be really honest with you. So I was out of the country. I just got home day before yesterday. And so I made the models and gave detailed instructions what to do while I was gone. And they did almost everything right, except I didn't want that. And I do want them clustered closer together. I had mentioned that, I think, earlier in my presentation. So I can maybe show you what that might look like. I think they're stronger. That's a really good observation. I think they're stronger when they're closer together. And if nature's any indication, they kind of tend to kind of be together a little bit anyway. So that starts becoming more stronger to me. Still got plenty of time, I'm pretty sure, so please don't be shy.
If you were looking to pair them both as a cohesive kind of thing, what would you kind of
If we did the mix thing, well, I think both of them get a big one, and then I would probably trade out maybe that one, and I might do something like that. Nope. Might do that. We have to just play Mr. Potato Head a little bit. Well, of course, but I can't. All I was saying is, well, I'd love to do both of them, but obviously only if you think that that's the best thing for your community. I think it's important to figure out a way to knit your community closer together, and art's one of those ways to do that. If we're only doing one, they have to stay as a suite. I can't break them up because unless you want to take a little bit more money from the other one, because it's a separate set of structural drawings. It's a separate way of making things. It just gets more complicated, so it gets more expensive. Well, speechless. I'm in no hurry. Thank you.
So glass, metal, wood, those are the studios.
Yeah, that's a little bit unfair because we just finished a project just outside of Dallas, actually, City Line. I can't think of the town. Oh my God.
Briscoe?
Nope, but getting warmer. There's something called City Line. It's a big development. State Farm's headquarters is there, and there's mixed use and all that.
Stay out of this, like, no offense to anybody, soccer mall area. But
Yeah, is that what it is? Yeah. Whole Foods, all that stuff. It's just like, you know how they are in Texas, they just add water, shake it, mix it, kaboom. There's a whole community. In any event, we did a 25-foot crescent moon with a Texas Longhorn sitting on top, waving at everybody, lit up from inside, and it's made out of, it's all high-density foam and fiberglass and resins and stuff. So the studio is, that's a little bit, I should have had them up to. Okay, cool, thank you.
Well, I guess I asked because I'm kind of curious about, because I'm not familiar with this media, with this glass at all.
With glass,
So, and we hear horror stories about our federal courthouse in downtown Phoenix, Santa Fe O'Connor, and it's all glass, and it's a nightmare in Phoenix. But we're not in Phoenix, right? We're outside Phoenix. So would you be open to another media, or this this is what you're really recommending based on the specificity of the site and, you know.
The same sort of glass there, though?
Yeah, what's the problem?
It's not this type of glass, but it's just like hot to be in that building. And this is, I don't know the glass at the courthouse, and this is definitely a different glass, but I'm just.
I think that if you want something different, I'm totally collaborative, but I think you would be doing yourself a disservice by doing that, because that glass is so dynamic. It's the world's most expensive glass. You're getting lots of value for your money.
Okay.
If we use it less expensive material, you could actually go bigger then, I suppose, if that was it. But there's no other material that's going to sing like that out in the sun. There's just no
A
way.
different type of glass, and it's probably not all the heat in the building.
They're probably getting heat gain in there, and
Situation as far as
it is, right, it's integrated into architecture. This is a freestanding sculpture,
I
right?
realize the difference, but I'm thinking, why the glass in a Phoenix suburb?
I chose glass because part of your goals was to have color and for it to be dynamic, and you can't get that kind of color in any other kind of material. I mean, you could make them, I could powder coat them in bright oranges and reds and greens and they'll fade. That's just what's going to happen.
So you said if they stay as a unit in the barrel cactuses versus the saguaros, could that 180 budget for the saguaros be shifted down scale-wise to a 140 budget for the 83rd Happy Valley?
You could, well, yeah, smaller means less money, of course. I mean, I can't tell you how much and all of that kind of stuff. That's right.
Flexibility and
But you know, again, I'd like to do both. And if what's bugging you is maybe another artist gave you something bigger, it's maybe a singular piece. I don't know, but I don't want to lose this opportunity because it's not tall enough. We'll figure out a way to make it taller. You know, that if that's what you're thinking
I
about.
was thinking the space specific, you know, flexibility. It has nothing to do
Okay.
with comparative.
Just because you asked about the height, and so I don't want this one to get away just because it's a few feet too short. That's all I'm saying. Okay.